Hello everyone and welcome back to my video. Today I'm going to be doing a story time, and my story time is going to be on something that happened at school. So I'm not going to name where the school, what school it was, and I'm not going to name anyone involved in this video because it's not appropriate. So this is going back into the realm of secondary school, and it was when I was in year 9. We had a new form tutor, which was a male form tutor. And at this time, I hadn't been around any male people, like boys or anything like that, because we was in an all girls school. So when you're in an all girls school, you're not really exposed to that stuff. So anyway, obviously, I found this teacher attractive. You know, we could say a crush. Crushes are normal, okay? It was just a crush. I fancied him. I thought he was cute, and he was really nice and very caring. And I think he was quite a young teacher, so he was putting his all into being a form tutor, and also he was a science teacher as well. Um, so around this time, I used to tell everyone that I fancied him, and it'd be a laugh and it'd be a giggle, and it'd be like, "Oh, you fancy so and so." And anyway, so I met this girl who I really got on with. Now, she wasn't in my form, she wasn't in any of my classes. I just met her. I don't even know, I can't even remember how I met her, but we really, really got on, like really well. We used to hang out, we used to go around each other's houses. I remember once we baked cookies in her house. We used to go for walks and take my dog for a walk on the weekends and stuff, and we built up a really good friendship. So, anyway, I used to talk about this teacher non-stop, right? Because he was my crush, and you just talk. But when you have a crush on someone, you talk about them all the time, right? So we would talk. We would discuss this stuff, and then I can't really remember exactly the timeline of things happened because it was a really long time ago. But somewhere around, I would say, the year 10 mark, um, she said to me that her cousin knew a teacher that works in the school. So, me and being like obsessive over this teacher, I'd be like, "Oh my god, do you think you could ask your cousin if he knows this other teacher?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I will." So a couple of days pass, and then she goes, "Oh my god, they're friends. They go out and stuff." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Right, you need to tell here. You need to tell your cousin right now to tell this teacher that I fancied that I fancy him. I want him to know." And during this time, like I said in previous videos, my mental health was not very good. My self-esteem wasn't very good. So I would confide in this teacher that I liked. Let's just call him Mr. Jake, because otherwise I'm going to say his name and I don't want to say his name. So around this time, Mr. Jake took an interest in my mental health. He could see that I was feeling down. He could see that I was a bit of a loner, and he would talk to me and he'd be like, "Oh, can I speak to you after class?" And I'd be like, "Oh my god, yeah!" Like, and I used to tell him about things that are going on, at home and stuff, and we would talk about it. He would tell me his experiences, and in my mind, I was like, I'm building a really good, ready for a can't fucking speak friendship with him, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get him to fancy me. Oh my god, and I'm 16 at the time, I'm fucking delusional. So going back to my friend, she had got back to me and said, um, he noticed that you fancied him and he fancied me too. And I could tell you what, my world exploded. I was like, me? He fancies me, just me. Like, oh my god. I was fucking elated. So, um, from this point on, it used to be like this thing that'd go on, like it'd like be like a secret love affair. Like, I would be in form class and I'd be like, I know you fancy me, and I fancy you too, and no one knows. And I'd be like, oh, he's just playing hard to get, because he would just be normal. Okay, normal, right? And then I started to be really rude to him because, you know, like when you like someone, you give them banter, don't you? And I was like giving him banter and being rude, and I used to like talking back to him because I'd be like, you know, you're not just my teacher, sort of thing. And once he called me flippant, and I was like, babe, oh god, this is so cringe. So anyway, we ended up, me and my friend. I'm gonna call my friend Lily. I can't think of any name. So me and Lily, we would speak on the phone every night, and she would tell me things that he said, things that he's done. He would say, "Oh, Mr. Drake said you look really pretty today," and I'd be like, oh and these phone calls were going for hours, and she would tell me all the stuff. And obviously, you know, at this point, I was just too trusting, maybe. So, fast forward, being fed all this stuff, you know, oh, he's going on a holiday. She used to tell me what he's doing on holiday. Then I would tell him things through Lily, and Lily would tell her cousin, and her cousin would tell that teacher, and then that teacher would tell Mr. Jake. So it was like this little circle thing that was going on. So I remember it was getting, and sorry, at all this time, I would be talking to him after class. And I never said anything about the conversations. I just assumed that he knew, and we knew together, sort of thing. Um, and I remember what really cemented it in my brain is we was speaking after class, and we made a deal on something because at this time I wasn't eating. So he'd say, right, we got to make it. Mr. Jake was like, we got to make a deal. You need to eat. I can't remember exactly what it is. Anyway, so we said we'll shake on it. So we shook hands, and he said, "Oh, cold hands. You know what that means, right? Cold hands, warm heart." And I remember feeling like, "Oh my god." So yeah. Okay. Right. Going back to like fast forwarding a couple of months, it got up to the holidays, and by this time, I I just really wanted to be with him at this point. Like I thought, right, well, if you like me, why can't you just quit your job and be with me, sort of thing, like run away together, you know? So I used to tell Lily to tell him all this stuff, and so yeah, it got to the summer holidays, and I was like, I had enough. Right, I had enough. I wrote a letter to him, and I wrote a letter to him on Facebook, and I still have the letter that I wrote to him. So yeah, I wrote this letter to him on Facebook, press send, and obviously didn't hear nothing back from him. I remember telling Lily that I'd sent this message, and she was like, "Oh, I haven't heard anything." So I remember I was downstairs and I was playing on the Wii. Who remembers the Wii, right? We still have it. We still play the Wii to this day. It's so old, but yeah. So I was downstairs playing the Wii, and my mum comes in and she goes, I'm on the phone to your head teacher. And I was like, what? She goes, what have you done? And I was like, I instantly knew what she was talking about. And she went, why are you sending messages? Why have you sent this message to this teacher? And she went, it's very, very serious. And we need to go into the school for a meeting. So at this point, I was really confused. I was like, why am I getting in trouble? Like, is he trying to get me in trouble? Like, why would he do this? And I remember at the time, I went upstairs and I got my phone and smashed it against the wall. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? So there was me still in so much denial, still in like dreamland, fancy land, where, you know, I thought, well, me and Mr. Drake were going to run away together. And I remember the day I was getting ready for the meeting with my parents, and I even remember like making sure I done my makeup, straightening my hair, made myself look all nice. And reality hit as soon as I got to that school. It hit, and as I was walking into the school gates, Mr. Jake walked out, and he just didn't look at me at all. He just did not look at me. He just put his head down, And I was like, okay, I'm not too sure what's going on here. So we got in, and my head teacher wanted to speak to my parents first without me. So we got into the class, and this was in like the maths block. So they went into, like, let's just say like room A, and I was in room B, and I could see my mum and dad from room B to room A. And then my deputy, she came in and she said, can you come with me for a little bit? Like, because obviously I could see what was going on, and I don't think they wanted me to see. So anyway, she took me to the PE block. She was a deputy, but she was a PE teacher. I remember it was like the longest walk to the PE, like the PE room. And I was like, I had my head down, and I just felt like, oh God, like, what is happening? And it had begun to rain. And I remember this so well. She went in and she was like, I need to take a call. And I sat outside like this against the wall, like this. And it was raining, and I just felt like a dog that had been left out in the rain. Like, I felt like I had to be ashamed, I should be ashamed or something. Anyway, she came out, she was like, right, it's time to go back to the maths block, it's time to go to room A. So I went in, and there was like, right, let me think. So there was the head teacher, there was the deputy, there was, oh, what is it? Safeguarding, like safeguard person, and I believe that was it. And then my parents. And I remember, like, it was such a blur because I wasn't really listening, because I was just like, what is this bullshit? And she was going, you know, this is really serious what you've done. Um, you know, you could put Mr. Drake in a lot of trouble. You know that he could lose his job because of this. Still, the while I was really confused. And anyway, so she gets out this brown envelope. She gets it out. It's like this really big brown envelope, and then she starts handing out these bits of paper to everyone in the room except me. And I soon began to realise that the piece of paper was a letter that I had wrote, and they had put numbers in all the lines. So they'd be like, can everyone go to like line 10? And then they would discuss what I had said. And one of the sentences I said is, I called him by his name. And my head teacher was like, you should never call a teacher by their name, it's inappropriate, you shouldn't be doing that. They picked up a few other things I said, like, I know you love me too, or something like that. And there was going, you know, this isn't true. um and I just felt really, really belittled. I felt like the word had done me wrong at this point. I hadn't done nothing wrong. Like, I was like, what is everyone going on about? Because I know he likes me. So anyway, before the meeting is adjourned, they said that we're going to move you into a different form class away from Mr. Drake, and that I'm not allowed anywhere near him. If I am near him, then, you know, I could potentially, you know, be disciplined for it. So I got moved to a different block. So I think I was in science block, and I can't remember what the block was called, but I was moved into like the English block and into a whole new form. And I remember I wanted to leave. I remember thinking, I want to leave. I want to leave. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, what is going on? I feel so embarrassed. And at this point, I didn't hear much communication from Lily. I remember asking her if everything was true, and she was like, yeah, it's all true. And I'd be like, and she was like confused as well. And she was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Um, anyway, I remember sitting at home, and mum was going, you know, none of this is true, right? And I'm looking, I'm like, it is true. He does like me. Mum was like looking me dead in the eye. She goes, Tasha, this is all fabricated. It's not real. It's not true. And when I tell you my whole world broke down, my whole world broke down. I thought we was gonna run away together. I thought we was gonna run away together. I thought it was gonna be a happy ending. Me and Mr. Jake. And I would, no word of a lie, I would spend all my nights in bed crying every single night. Why have you done, like, I remember thinking, why have you done this to me? Why did you do this to me? I know you love me. And it was our last day at school, And I remember I had to go and finish some work. So we're fast forward some time now, you know, spending every night crying, blah, blah, blah. And it was our last day of school, and I was like, I'm going to go in there and speak to him. And I remember at the time I was with my friend, let's just call her Jane. That's not her name, but I was with Jane. I was like, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to go and I'm going to tell him exactly how I feel. So I went in there, like, Mr. Big Bollocks, and I was like, why did you lie? And he's looking at me and he's like, Tasha, what are you talking about? And I was like, I know you like me. Like, why have you been lying? He's like, Natasha, enough is enough now. And I remember walking out going, you prick, to him. And I was like, yeah, like, I feel so accomplished. Like, told him a piece of my mind. And then that was the end of that. And for a couple of years afterwards, I always thought he liked me. I always thought it was true. And Lily never ever admitted that she'd fabricated a whole world for me. And I think this is where my problems began to arise with my self-identity, and with my mood disorder, because I was living like a world that wasn't true. It was all fabricated, and I lived and breathed that life that wasn't true. And it was like I was living two separate worlds. And you know, I don't know if anyone's watched the Truman Show, but that's kind of what it was like. You know, everyone knows something else that I don't know, but what I know is to be true. So as the realization began to occur to me, a couple of years later, I started to come to terms with it was all a lie. And why would this person do this to me? Why would you do that to me? You've basically essentially fucked up my life. I was so depressed afterwards. I was so suicidal. I felt abandoned. I felt like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve someone telling me lies for 2 years of my life? And I was heartbroken, and I felt embarrassed, and I felt like I shouldn't be here anymore. And it was really hard. And I used to dream that I wasn't here anymore. I used to go to sleep and I used to be like, I don't want to wake up anymore, you know. And it got really heavy. And this is when I went to college. And when I started college, I was, college. I just threw myself at every guy that was willing to have me. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care. I'd been embarrassed enough. Like, I'm a freak. Like, people gonna. I used to think that everyone in my school year knew, but they didn't. I used to think everyone thought that I was a freak. I was, you know, a nutcase, insane. Why would I think a teacher loved me? And I'm still now coming to terms with it wasn't true, because I don't know if it wasn't true or not, but I knew it wasn't. It wasn't true. It wasn't. You know, it was all fabricated. Everything was fabricated. And I still to this day cannot understand why this so-called friend did this to me. I will never know why she did that to me. Why did she feed me lies every single day that I believed? And I feel like saying to her, you ruined my supposedly school, my end of my school years. That was supposed to be the happiest time. You know, you get your grades. I was miserable. I did just every day. I didn't want to be here anymore. And if she could only have seen how she affected me, maybe she would have said sorry, but she never has. She's never spoken to me again. And I would like an apology, but it's time to move on. It's time, you know, this is what I'm going to be getting therapy for. This is one of the things I'm getting therapy for. And I think this is where my problem started, because it was traumatic for me. It was a very traumatic event, and traumatic events can cause PTSD, which I believe I have from that, because I still think about it, and it disrupted what my perception of love was, what my perception of relationships was. I didn't of my perception of relationship was, and I got into some very ugly relationships, and I didn't know what being in love meant. I was told all these things that weren't true. you know. Anyway, that's basically what happened. But I actually do have the letter that I wrote to him. So if anyone wants to hear the letter, I can read it out. Um, but yeah, this was the story of when I believed the teacher fancied me, and it was not true. If anyone's had anything similar happen to them, or they've had crushes that they've taken way too far, let me know. It would help because, I still feel like a freak now. I feel like it was just a very embarrassing time of my life. But yeah, so that concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I think I'll be uploading again tomorrow. I'm going to try and upload as many videos as I can, and then try and book in a schedule of when I'm going to talk about things. I do want to keep this channel more mental health related, more story times with mental health, but I can upload other things once this channel grows a little bit more. I can do other things. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.